you've spent so many years creating for other people, creating for church. Why not just create for yourself? And if your heart is to impact people, then God's giving you that voice to do it. You're going to impact somebody some way, somehow.
Well, welcome back, everyone, to Church Circle Podcast. This is season 3. We're kickstarting season 3 in a great way. And, the first kind of season was us finding our feet with church creatives. The second season was us kind of getting to know different people from different spheres of the church. And when I was thinking about what season 3 could be all about, I was kind of just looking at people that I know and people in the church and just thinking what drives them. And so this is going to be really about passion, what drives people, what gives people the spark to do what they do. And I think this is going to touch on some really cool ministries, some cool things that people are doing. And so this is kind of, if you guys are into passion projects, if you're into kind of being motivated to try something new, then hopefully this podcast, particularly this season, will be for you. And someone that's kind of launched themselves onto the scene in the last couple of years, all around passion and all around doing things that they feel like God's called them to do. Derek Ortiz over in Texas. He is a content machine. You guys may know him, Derek Ortiz. I am Derek Ortiz on Instagram. Derek, firstly, thanks for being here. Thanks for joining us. And maybe just for those who don't know, I'm not sure how that's possible, but for those that don't know, maybe just share a little bit about who you are and kind of what's brought you up to this point.
Bro, I mean, before I do that, dude, I want to say how much I have personally looked up to you, and I'm not just blowing smoke. It's so crazy that you and I are on a podcast together, because years before this was even a thing for me, like I just straight up just ripping your stuff, bro. You're a legend, dude. You're a legend in design, in the church space. Like, bro, so many people have copied you, and so and now it's like copies of a copy of a copy. So, bro, thank you for everything that you do and everything that you've done. And so, yeah, I just want to honor you because, man, you're not only an incredible designer, but now you're a freaking podcast host and stuff. So yeah. But growing up, I felt like I've always just been creative. I started off doing music actually at a young age. And so that's how I started my creative journey, just like making beats. That's what I like to do. I just like to make music, all while like I was in the church and doing all that and going Sundays and things like that. And it really wasn't until I got involved in a youth group that I really felt like, okay, I can really like make an impact with music. And so I started down that road, and through that, artists and myself needed like album artwork, and we needed music videos and photography, headshots, all these things that an artist needs. And because I was a young kid, single parent home, like I didn't have the resources to be able to afford that. So I'm like, well, creativity is best, done out of lack, right? So I'm like, all right, let me just figure it out, and convince my mom to buy me like a cheap camera, and I was using like Microsoft Paint at the time, like just creating whatever I can create, and just made it work. I didn't really, at a young age, didn't let anything stop me. And thankfully, this was around the time that YouTube, like I was in high school, YouTube was a thing, like I just started. And I'm starting to show my age right now, but it had just started. And so I was able to like look things up and just figure it out. It was an awesome time. Like it was like a beautiful struggle for me. And then through that process, just started learning and growing and getting better. And then my wife and I joined a church when we were engaged, and we stayed at that church for about 10 plus years. And through that, again, every Sunday is just a rep that I get to put in. And so I started to sharpen my iron, started to sharpen my skills. And that led me to get on staff for about 5 years there. And I really got to see the impact that creatives make. And not only that, but just the hours and the sacrifice that creatives put in. And I don't think that really gets highlighted enough or noticed enough. I think creatives really have a special place in my heart because I get what it's like. I get the grind. I get the Sunday morning waking up and it's like, hey, I need these things created or posted or edited same day. Like there are so many things creatives go through in and out of the church. And that's kind of what sparked my ideas of like, I really want to back and support creatives as much as I can.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think we're on a similar I feel like we've been on a similar journey. It's like I was on church staff for 5 years as well. I didn't start in the music background. I know Edward Creates. For you guys that don't know, Edward's son was on a
Yeah.
podcast, I think, a couple of seasons ago. He started off kind of in that music sphere as well. So there's so much crossover. For me, it was similar. Like YouTube was that kind of thing I dabbled in, and then that required me to generate YouTube thumbnails and YouTube cover photos and stuff. And it feels like a progression, a natural progression, and then you get to the point, and like where you've been as well, where you kind of see other creatives doing it and see how hard it is, and then you see the kind of areas where there's lack, whether it's the education side of things, whether it's the inspiration side of things, or the encouragement side of things, which is kind of a space that you've really stepped into in the last couple of years. But I feel like you've taken it to a new level, and you've gone like, how can I take what I'm learning as a creative? How can I take what God's teaching me? There's not many voices that are doing that, and I think everyone's looking for truth, and everyone's looking for encouragement, and everyone's looking to be valued. And it's almost like you're bringing that value in a kind of evangelical way, in a way, to people and creatives who don't even know anything about God. And so that's something that I've noticed in the last couple of years, and I want to encourage you to carry on doing that as well. You said lots of
Bro, yeah.
nice things about me, but for you as well, like you're doing such cool stuff, and now it's me that's copying you. So thanks for bringing it full circle.
Dude, I mean, yeah, for me, it's just I'm literally just speaking to myself. Every piece of content I make is a reminder for myself. It's not coming from a place of I know better than you. It's coming from a place of like I'm in the same position as you. I'm in the same place as you. Just because I'm posting this content doesn't mean I'm void of anything that I post. It's like, no, if anything, I'm going through it like at that moment, and it's all things that I'm telling myself in my head that God's instilled in me, that I'm like, okay, these are all things that I gotta just push past, and so that's kind of the place that I've been. And the place that I'm speaking from is like, this is what I'm going through. And if I'm going through it, maybe it'll help you.
Yeah, that's great. Was there a kind of point for you where you were like, this is the moment? Because there's, just for some kind of context, we'd known each other on Instagram before, but you were kind of under a different brand. And then it was like this switch where you became I am Derek Ortiz on Instagram. And then it was like, okay, this is kind of the real pin sharp kind of focus that I'm doing right now. What kind of happened? What inspired you to go for that very specific niche of encouraging creatives?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, just kind of backstory. So I have this Instagram account. I've had it for like a couple years. So this wasn't just a thing that happened. Again, I was on staff at a church, and I was like, man, I want like a side project, just something fun to do. And for those that have designed for church, like you see a lot of these bigger churches putting out amazing content, amazing visuals. And me, being a part of a smaller church, I'm like, where are they getting these fonts from? Where are they getting these assets from? How are they doing this? And I really didn't have any resources out there. And funny enough, like I got inspired by Church Circle Creatives, which was Pro Church Media before, and they were pumping out content, reposting designs and churches, visuals, things like that. And so I was like, man, it would be cool to have a resource that was sharing what fonts were being used. It really came down to the fonts, because my idea is like a font can make or break a design. And so I remember talking to some people, and I originally wanted it to be a website. I was like, let's make it a website, like a blog or something. And then someone told me like, well, why don't you just start off with Instagram? Like, just make it easy. And that's literally what I did. I just found other churches' designs, and then tried my best to find the font however I could, and then just repost it and have the font in the bio, and just like, hey, if you want to go purchase this font, like, go ahead. And then I started slowly just branching out to like designers I love. So like people like Ruben and Matthew and all these guys that were like just killing it. And then it got to a place where designers started following me, and they were like, hey, I made that. Like, if you want me to help you, I can just tell you the fonts I use. And so I started to build this little community of people that I was just like getting stuff from, and they were cool with me sharing and not having to like gatekeep stuff. And so I grew that account to maybe like 8,000 or 9,000 followers over the span of like 2 years. But something in me was like, man, I really want to expand this. Cause again, I've always, even before I started this account, I've always just had a burning for like encouraging creatives. I just want to help them, be able to just keep pushing forward through those emotional barriers that they go through. I remember just switching my picture profile to my face. I'm like, maybe people just need to know who I am first, instead of switching it completely. So I just switched it to my face. naturally lost a few people. I'm like, okay, it's whatever. And then in the beginning of the year, I was like, you know what, I'm going to make the full switch. So I switched to my now Instagram name, which is I am Derek Ortiz. And I just started producing content through that because I wanted to build something beyond just that. From there, I started making content, kept losing some followers, and it started to be honest, got to me. I was like, man, what's going on? And this is a key lesson for me, right? You can't really predict the outcomes of things, but you can predict the output. And so I told myself, I have control over the output. I have no control whether people follow me, whether they like my stuff, whether they share it. I don't have control over the outcome. But what I can control, what's in my hand, right? Stewardship is really what it comes down to. And so I said, you know what? Let me take it back. And I remember in that moment, instead of waiting, I said, let me just record a video. So I turned the camera on and I said, starting tomorrow, and I didn't even know what I was going to do. I had no idea. I had no game plan. I just said, starting tomorrow, I'm going to create a series where I'm going to share 30 fonts in 30 days because that's what I started the account with. And so I'm like, I'm going to bring it back to what I started this account with. And that's literally what launched what is now I am Derek Ortiz on Instagram, because that in 30 days, I grew from like the 8,000 or 9,000 followers to maybe like 60,000. It was wild. I would have never guessed. And like you said, it has grown beyond just the church space now. Like designers everywhere, web designers, graphic designers, all kind of designers are following me. And now it's branching to like all like creatives are just following me. And it's so wild. I would have never guessed from that just split moment decision that I said, I'm going to do this, that it would lead to this moment right now. So it's been crazy, bro.
It's one of my favorite things, especially encouraging creatives in this sense, but like watching you and Edward Sun and Nick Goodner and all these guys who just go, you know what, I'm going to just be myself and I'm just going to share content. And then they just like, I'm watching them like whether it's their views or their comments or their followers just go stratospheric. And I just love cheering you guys on because I'm watching this happen. And I'm like, I'm so glad that people are taking notice of the quality of designers, of creatives that are in the church space. And it feels like it's coming back where, right, for centuries, the church was leading the creative charge, whether it was architecture, whether it was art, whatever it was, they were leading the charge. And then it felt like we took a back step and everything became stale and dull. And it feels like people are starting to look to the church to get again for this creativity. And even if it's not, explicit, it's not this kind of like, this is, Christian creativity and people are looking to that for inspiration, but just what you're doing and just encouraging and being a light and being a source of hope in the creative space is just, bringing people closer to God than they were when they opened up Instagram for the first time. So it's really cool to see that and to see all these creatives starting to branch into that. And it just gets me pumped because I'm like, imagine if we all started being authentic and just posting what we wanted to post, like you said. And sometimes it's going to get you down, but it's like, if I can control the output, then the rest of it will come. Are you ready to take your church leadership to the next level? Then it's time to join Church Circle, a vibrant community where church leaders, staff, and creatives come together to share ideas, tackle challenges, and grow in their ministries. Say goodbye to getting lost in the noise of endless social media groups and hello to a space where your voice is valued and your struggles are met with unwavering support and inspiration. Church Circle is more than just another online community. It's a place where you can connect with like-minded individuals who truly understand the unique challenges of church leadership. Ready to experience the difference? Head to churchcircle.com and sign up today. You moved into short form video. Mm-hmm. Was that because that was what the algorithm was doing, or was that because it was just kind of felt like how you could represent yourself best in terms of being authentic? What do you think kind of one for you made you want to move into that sphere, and also what do you think resonates with people when it comes to your content?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, while I was on staff, I was the creative director, and but I also was doing a lot of the things there. So I naturally had a passion for multiple things, and I'm sure a lot of creatives can relate to that. Sometimes you get boxed in, even down to like the style. Like you get boxed into like your style, and it's like, man, I'm so much more than that. And that's really something I'm really trying to figure out right now, because I'm just doing what I like to do. At that time, yes, short form was like the way to go, but also I always had a passion for film and video and things like that. And like, if you look at my content, it's always shot on like a nicer camera and, with the lens and color grade and all lighting and everything. Cause that's just what I like to do. I always tell people it's not because I feel like it's what sets me apart. It's just what I like to do. And I know how to do it, because the mistake people start to make when they first create content is they want to get all that stuff and they want to do all that. But all that does is create friction from you getting an idea to you putting that out there. So if a phone is what allows you to have less friction, then use your phone by all means. For me, I just enjoy doing this, and I love doing it, and I'm able to do it. I don't have to learn it all because I already learned it. At that time, I feel like a lot of the creatives that I was following, designers, and I get why, right? They're all just posting their work because they're trying to get clients, they're trying to get client work and people to want to hire them. For me, I was coming from a different place. I was on staff at a church, so I didn't really need anybody to hire me. It was more so of like, I feel like a lot of people tend to like gatekeep what they do and gatekeep like the resources. And because I get it, you're trying to like stand out, and maybe that's the thing that helps you stand out. But I was just from a place, I came from a place of like, you know what, I'm not going to gatekeep anything. Like, I'm just going to give away what I know. And even from that place, it's also stuff that I just learned. It's just me providing value to the people that were there. And I feel like when I first started out, not a lot of designers were coming from that place of like, let me show you how I'm doing stuff. It was more so, let me show you my work. And I think that's maybe what made me a little different when at that time. It was like kind of like a right place, right time type of thing. Because now you look on there, and I'm not going to say I take all the credit for it or like I'm the guy that started it, but now a lot of designers are sharing what fonts they use. And I've seen other people start their own 30-day series, and people have reached out to me saying like, hey, you inspired me. And that's amazing. But I feel like when I first was doing that, a lot of people weren't. And that's kind of what helped me to like stick out a little bit, because I wasn't like showing my work as much as I was showing you how I made the work.
Yeah, I think there's really, two things that you can focus on when it comes to creating content, especially online, that removes the pressure from trying to be something you're not. And the first thing is be a light, whether that's be encouraging or be Christ-like online, but also just be authentic. And those two kind of mesh together quite well. And one of the things that's always taken pressure off my work is I rarely do any promotion stuff. I really don't like selling stuff to followers, because all I really want to do is encourage people. And the thing that's taken the pressure off my work is I post basically Bible verses or pieces of encouraging scripture or messages of faith, whatever it is. And my thing it always comes back to is like the word of God will never return void. So even if it gets 3 likes and doesn't get any traction or whatever it may be, that wasn't the point of the post in the first place. And just resetting those metrics. And I think whatever content you're creating, if you can do the two checklists, was I being myself, was I being authentic, and was I being a light, and was I being Christ-like? If you can tick those 2 boxes, you check those boxes, you will probably find that you'll be much more fulfilled and satisfied with the work that you do than if you're trying to hunt for followers and because I think in my case and in Derek's case, it really is consistency and being authentic and posting kind of the stuff you want to post, and then the traction and the followers and whatever else comes with it kind of moved from there. And it's the same story for me, 5 years ago, which seems crazy now, but when I first started my Instagram page 5 years ago, the challenge was just to be more creative and just hold myself to account to create something every day, and that was it. There was no pressure to build followers. It was just like I needed to have somewhere where other people could see and hold me accountable, and then the kind of traction built from there. And there's definitely, I'm sure you agree, Derek, there's definitely hard moments in the journey, and being consistent is difficult at times. But I think those 2 things of just bringing yourself back to, okay, was I authentic? Was I Christ-like? If the answer to those 2 things are yes, then I think you're going to be able to sleep quite well at night. And I don't think you'll be kept up by followers or by likes or being disappointed by traction on posts.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they tend to have the algorithm dictate, how they perceive themselves online. And I say that because I've fallen victim to that. And I think it's hard sometimes because you're chasing engagement or comments or likes to really have your true voice out there. But what I tell people is just push past that. Just make content. Just put stuff out there, and eventually something's going to stick where you feel like, okay, this is really who I am supposed to be. I mean, look at me. I started an account just talking about fonts, and it's grown beyond that, and it's taken some time, and I've lost followers and gained followers and gone through different seasons, but I think I'm now starting to step into a place where I really feel like I know my voice and I know the audience that I'm speaking to. And that doesn't happen overnight. That comes through trial and error. But again, like I said previously, all you can control is what's in your hands. So instead of saying, hey, I want this many followers by this time, say, hey, I want to create this many videos by this time. Put some action behind what you're doing and put a goal that you can control, because at the end of the day, the byproduct of you putting the work in is going to be growth. So focus on that first, and then let everything else fall where it will.
Yeah, that's great. This kind of leads to our next question. Do you think that's one of the biggest challenges that Christian creatives face right now? This is more in the context of building a brand online, but do you think that's kind of the big thing? Is that it's people are just kind of falling for the I need as many followers as possible to make an impact?
It's that, and it's also, I think we spend a lot of our time creating for other people, and then when it comes to creating for ourselves, we get paralyzed by perfectionism, and we think that it needs to be this grandiose thing because there's so much added pressure, which it's really just pressure we put in our heads. Like if you think about it, when we overthink things, or we think about what other people think, it's really just a few people you have in your head that you're like, man, what are they going to think? Like it's not hundreds of people. It's just a few people that you're like, man, what are they going to say about me? What are they going to think? And I literally put a post out the other day that was like, at first they'll call you cringy, and then they'll call you creative, because you have to start off cringy. That's just a part of it. That's a part of the game. But if somebody told me that's the part of the game and this is the outcome of the game, then I'm going to play that game all day. Because, and even to this day, I'm sure there are people on the other side of my content that have said, man, that guy's so cringy. But at the end of the day, those people are not going to dictate how I perceive or go about doing my stuff. I love, like you said earlier, I love what I get to do, and I have joy, and I focus on the impact. As long as there's one person that's being impacted by what I'm creating, that's all that matters to me. I think creatives, a lot of times, we just overthink stuff. We overthink stuff. And think about it, when it comes to creating content on your own, nobody's telling you to do it, right? You don't have a client that has a deadline. You don't have a church, leader that's telling you, hey, we need this series by this date. You don't have somebody over your shoulder telling you to do this. It's just you. You're telling yourself that. And I think that's a lot of reasons why we stop, because we don't have the necessary self-discipline to be able to say, I told myself I'm putting a video out on Tuesday, so I'm going to make this video no matter what. Like, it really has to be down to that, because if not, then what else is there? You're not going to have anybody else telling you what to do. So if your goal is to either, get more clients, if it's to get brand deals, if it's to sell digital products, whatever the case may be, personal branding is the way to go as a creative, because it opens all of those doors for you. So that's why I always advocate creatives to, if you have the time, which I would say you would, because it really takes, 30 minutes to an hour a day, if that, to really put intentional work to build your personal brand online. So just start where you are, and just keep making necessary daily movements to get to that place.
Yeah, it's very freeing to not have someone look over your shoulder and tell you what work you need to do, but it's also very paralyzing for creatives, I find. And what happens is, because there's no, I think in modern life in general, I have quite a lot of issues with modern life in terms of how we live. And I think there's a lot of pressure on us as humans just to be continually producing. And I don't think it's particularly healthy. But one of the things that happens is that we have all of this pressure on us from our 9 to 5, or from family life, whatever it may be. And the thing that gets kicked down the road is always the passion projects, is always the things that we don't feel like are necessary. But what happens is you get 10 years down the road, and then you go, I never picked up that thing I really wanted to do, and you feel unfulfilled. There might be other areas of your life. There might be the family you're raising and the things you have to do to make that happen. But then you get to that point where you're like, I just, I wanted to pick something up 10 years ago and it never happened. And I think one of the ways to do that is just to make those little steps every day, those little actionable things. What can you squeeze in? What can you prioritize? It's unrealistic if you've got 2 young children, which I am learning right now, to block out 4 or 5 hours a day to do a passion project, because you're going to be interrupted. But I can squeeze in 30 minutes in the morning, before they wake up. Or I can squeeze in 30 minutes while they're taking a nap. And so set yourself measurable things that fit your lifestyle. fit the way you live, fit your 9 to 5, whatever it may be. You will have to work hard. You may have to wake up earlier, go to bed a little bit later. You're going to have to find a way to make it work with your schedule. But doing something consistent daily is going to be huge. And especially like just in terms of fulfillment, if you feel like you're doing something that fills you up, that's why we do our daily devotionals, right? We go to church, but the church is the communal piece. The church is the body of Christ meeting together, but we do our own encouragement and filling up of ourselves. We do that at home in our devotions. It's kind of the same with creativity, is that we have those things that, whether it's work or whether it's serving at church, we have those things we do together as creatives, but the things that fill us up tend to do on our own. And so just make some space for that. If you can make some space for your Bible, if you can make some space to watch TV at some point, I'm sure you can make some space as well to spend 30 minutes just learning something, if that's something you want to pursue. So yeah, I feel like we just covered some little tips there, but do you have any more kind of like practical first steps for, let's say, as a designer or a creative that's like, I am at ground zero, I don't even have an Instagram page yet. Like, what do I do to kind of start building my personal brand? Do you have any just quick tips on that?
Yeah, I think first you have to define what is the goal of your personal brand. So I kind of mentioned like a few of them earlier, but is it to get more clients? Is it, maybe sell digital products? Is it to get a brand deal? If you kind of decide that, then you can kind of decide, okay, what kind of content do I want to put out there? Now, if you don't even know that, I would just say put whatever. Like I would say just put whatever you want, and again, see what sticks. Because the last thing I want people to do is to just not start at all. Just put whatever you feel is cool. If you like somebody else's video, like try to just remix it a little bit and just put it out there. But once you kind of nail down where you want to go, then it's going to determine what you want to put out there. So if it is to gain more clients, naturally, I think the best choice is to put, your work out there, or maybe you making your work, or you having a conversation with a client, or anything that is in that realm, right? Day in the life of what it's like to be in your shoes, whether it's a creative director or you're a graphic designer, things like that. I would say start with that. Start with, who are you speaking to? And if you don't know who that is, all I would do, and what I tell people to do, is just speak to the person that you were 2-3 years ago. What were you struggling with back then in your creative journey? Was it how to use Photoshop? Was it you didn't know how to use InDesign or anything, right? Final Cut, Premiere, and just do that. It's there's a concept that I learned called being a guide versus a guru. And with a guide, you're more so showing people and taking people along the journey with you. Hey, this is what I've discovered. This is where I've been. This is the place. Versus a guru feels like they have to know it all. They're Mr. Perfect. They know everything. And so I'm a superior to you because I know better, and this is exactly what to do. And I personally like the approach of a guide. It's saying, hey, this is what I've seen. This is what I know. This is what I tried, and it worked for me. So maybe it'll work for you. Give it a try. And you're guiding people through places that you've been. So I like that approach because it kind of takes that pressure off of feeling like you need to know everything. And so similar to what I said earlier in this episode, I would just learn things and then teach people what I just learned. It's that simple. If I learned a new way to do some treatment on a type for my design, why not just turn the camera on and show people, man, this is what I just learned. This is how you do it. This is the effects. This is the textures I was using. This is the company that made this background that I like. Whatever that is, just put it out there and allow yourself to be okay with it. May not get a bunch of people or a bunch of eyeballs on it, but that's okay because you're just starting out and you're just putting stuff out there. You're getting into the environment, or you're getting yourself used to putting content out there, because that's really what you need to do versus chasing the growth.
That's really good. Do you think that kind of transfers to ministry as well? Pastors, because there's people that are listening aren't just creatives. There's pastors, there's volunteers, there's staff members of churches, and people that may want to build a brand around their specific role. I think of like online pastors that are wanting to make a difference and try and help other online pastors in the country or in the world. Or I think about pastors who are wanting to share content. Is it the same skills that transfer that it would as a creative? Like, what would you say to that?
Yeah, 1000%. I think, again, it's whatever is in you, right? Whatever is in you will flow out of you. And so whatever that is for you, whatever dominion you're in, or whatever area you're in, it's the same concept. I think a lot of times people can overvalue one piece of content and undervalue 100. Meaning we put so much pressure on this one thing that we created because we put our heart and soul into it and we hope it does really well. But with the algorithms and the way they work today, the lifespan of one piece of content is not very long. But I'm telling you, over the span of 100 pieces of content, you'll definitely see some sort of growth with that. Like, I challenge anybody listening to this podcast to post one piece of content for 30 days straight and see what happens. For 60 days straight, see what happens. I guarantee you're going to be further along in your journey than you were before. And even if you don't see numerical growth, you're going to see growth within yourself. So I think for a pastor or a leader that's in the church, space, just think about what is it that you feel again that you needed 2-3 years ago in your ministry. Maybe you're a kids pastor that had no idea what you were doing 3 years ago, but now you're on the other side. Like, okay, man, if somebody told me to focus more on this, or to build this kind of system, or to lead your volunteers in this way, man, I think more kids pastors need to know this. So why don't I just put it out there? Or one thing I do personally is I listen to some books as I go on walks. I like to go on walks regularly, and I have just an open note on my iPhone that I would just, like, if something sticks out to me, I just write it down. I don't know if I'm going to do anything with that thing, but I just literally, the note's called brain dump. And I just write everything that sticks out to me, because if it sticks out to me, I feel like it may stick out to somebody else. And so I can use that as a way to say, you know what, I'm just going to put it out there. I can't overvalue one piece of content and get so attached to it. I'm just going to put it out there. And I'm telling you, the things you doubted the most to put out have a way of doing the best. And you're like, what in the world? And the things you put so much like pressure on or so much emphasis on tend to not do that great. And that's just the world we live in. And that's just it. We just have to be okay with some things are going to do better than others. But as long as we're in the routine of putting content out there, there's going to be growth.
Yeah, that's really good. No, I can definitely relate to that. I think the other thing as well I would say is don't be afraid of the niche. I don't know if you Americans say niche, but don't be afraid of that niche that you're going into, because someone might say, well, I'm a kids pastor. There's how many kids pastors are going to be, following me, and you kind of get bogged down in this idea. Maybe I need to just be generalized to all pastors, but I think you have a unique experience wherever you are. And there will be, especially in the US, there will be a good few thousand people that have a similar experience to you that are reachable. And I would much rather have, and I've said this for my entire Instagram career or journey or whatever you want to call it. I would rather have 10,000 people who followed me that were, a community of people that got me and understood me and encouraged me. And I could really feel like I could speak to and encourage, than 100,000 people that were, just there to like and disappear. And I think that goes back to the mission kind of thing. What are you trying to do with your brand? What are you trying to do with your page or whatever it is you're creating? But don't be afraid of the niche. And I think actually most people that lean into the niche, this is in business as well as in lots of areas, they find a lot more success. Someone told me once that the riches are found in the niches. Now, it doesn't quite work the same way in the UK, but that phrase sticks with me, because it's like you can either spend your time trying to generalize your experiences and your content, or you can just try and speak from your heart where you are, and that will reach a specific person. But that's where I find the most success, is when you speak to someone that's on the same playing field as you, on the same level as you. So yeah, just try and just take the pressure off a little bit. And when you're posting, like Derek says, just get it out there. Just share the content that you wanted to see 2 years ago. And I think that you'll find yourself in a specific niche that actually, you'll find yourself really comfortable in, and that only accelerates the content you can produce, the ideas that you have, and the kind of pressure around creating will just fall back a little bit.
I think one little tip I would give somebody if they're struggling with knowing what to put out there, one thing you can do is just have your phone, have it on a side angle, and just record if you're on a podcast, and have somebody on your team just interview you, ask you questions, just record that. Maybe it's a 30-minute a recording. There's other programs like it called Opus Pro, something like that.
Yeah,
it's like $10 a month, and you take that raw video, that whole 30-minute clip, you put it in there, and it'll literally chop it up for you. It'll add the text for you exactly how you want it, and it'll even give you a score on how well it thinks it'll do based on algorithms and things like that. That is a low friction way to put content out there. Is it Is it going to be the best content ever? I mean, it really depends on what you're speaking on. But I think, again, we are overemphasizing what, one piece of content is versus just throwing stuff out there to see what can happen. And that is very, very low friction. You're just taking that one clip, putting it in there. There's no editing. You can either, I think you can even on the program post directly to Instagram. Like, you just boom, and with a button, just post it, put your caption out there, and there's content for you. So I think a lot of people can see other creatives and what they're doing and start to compare. But as long as your voice is being heard, that's all that really matters. So try that out and see if that'll work for you.
Yeah, that I use Opus as well for various client stuff, and it's great. It's a easy in. Like you said, it's pretty easy to understand, and you can chop and change and edit stuff as well. So that's a great little tip there as well. And just go and get some content, and that's a great place to start. Okay, maybe you record 2 30-minute episodes, whatever it is, throw it into Opus and just see how it came out. Is this something you would want to watch? Is this something that resonates with you? And then post it. Yeah, see what sticks. It's
or right now, like, the big trend is like carousels. And I mean, now with like things like Canva and stuff, it's super easy just to put your words on a blank canvas and just like create carousels based on your thoughts. And it's crazy. Like, the ones that are just the most minimal do the best, because people don't really care about this flashy stuff. They want like more genuine things. So if it's black Helvetica text on a white background, like, as long as it's thought provoking and people can relate to it, that's all that really matters.
Yeah. So there you guys have it. I think there's hopefully a lot of stuff to take away with this, and I think both Derek and I are always happy to kind of connect with anyone that wants to talk more about this. I'm sure you can kind of jump onto Instagram or onto Church Circle, and we can talk about this kind of stuff. But Derek, before you go, do you have a hot take when it comes to Christians trying to brand their personality on Instagram or on social?
I kind of touched on it earlier, but my hot take is just, man, get out of your own head. You've spent so many years creating for other people, creating for church. Why not just create for yourself? Like, what is the harm in it? To me, it can't do any bad. It's only good. And if your heart is to impact people, then God's giving you that voice to do it. You're going to impact somebody some way, somehow. And the thing about it too, right? Like I said before with the carousels, you don't even have to put your face out there. You can just be faceless, but put amazing stuff out there. Or maybe you're just sharing quotes from a book, or from like how Ruben has been sharing, like, he's doing Bible verses. Like, you don't have to come up with anything on your own. You can just take what's already out there. And because it's resonated with you, it's going to resonate with somebody else. So my hot take is just, man, in today's world, this is where we're at. Social media is not going anywhere. So instead of pushing it away, why don't you embrace it to say, this is the new form of communication that I'm going to use to be able to get the message that God's given me out there. If it's working positively, then why wouldn't you want to put it out there? So yeah, just get over the fact that people are going to talk about you, because they will. That's the reality. People are like, oh no, they won't. No, they will. But just get over that fact and know that because God's called you to it, he'll see you through it. And that alone should be able to keep you going and push past all the negativity that you feel you're going to experience.
That's great. I'm going to throw a hot take in there as well. And this is not to undermine our entire conversation.
Throw it.
But my hot take is that not everyone needs to have a personal brand. And the reason I say that hot take is because most of the people that are detracting, and the ones that are commenting, and the ones that are, let's say, hating or whatever it is on the things that you do, they don't have a personal brand, and that is entirely okay. They don't need one. They're happy to do their thing. If you are in a job that you love, if it's your passion, if you're behind a brand already, whether it's a non-profit, whatever it may be, if it's working for you, that's great. The reason why I say that is because most people who are on this podcast right now, they saw the title and they listened to it because they want to know more about branding yourself. So the hot take is more for people that aren't actually listening. So it's kind of pointless. But the point is like, if you're trying to be something you're not, which comes back to the authentic thing, then don't do it. So if being authentic, and if that is about you sharing your experiences online, and you feel like that's what God's calling to you, and you feel like that's something that you want to go into, then this is for you. If you don't want to do that, and you're listening right now, then that's entirely okay as well. Keep doing what you're doing. And maybe at some point you want to share your experiences, but it doesn't have to be that way. Sorry, Derek, I hope I didn't undermine everything we said. I think
No,
I want
I
to make sure
100%
people,
agree. I
because I
100%
think
agree.
the world would be a pretty tough place if everyone was like, branding themselves. I think it's nice to have a little mix of both. And like I said, the people that will comment on the things that you do will often not be doing that themselves, and so I wouldn't worry about them. Derek, how can people find out more about you, connect with you, and maybe have questions if they want to ask you something else?
Instagram's the best place for you to reach out. I am Derek Ortiz. DM me, let me know you're from Church Circle and you listen to this podcast. And I would love to be able to continue the conversation with you guys. And honored to be able to be just a small voice in this little creative world we live in.
Yeah, and we'll have all the tags for Derek in the show notes, so you can just go down there and access whatever part of social media you wanna reach him at. And Derek, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for spending some time with us and sharing your wisdom. And it's so cool. I'm learning so much from you as well, as you speak right now, but also share content and encourage me as well as a creative. So just want to thank you for that as well. And I'm sure there'll be lots of people that have been impacted and encouraged by what you said. So you're doing what you set out to do, and thank you for making the space to do it here as well. So thank you guys for joining. And we'll be back with more passion stories and people that are doing what they feel God is calling them to do in their random spheres of life. And there's going to be some very interesting conversations and stories that are going to come up in this season of the Church Circle podcast. So we'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks again for listening. See you guys soon.